there's a really high success rate in the first few years for the people who are very motivated. So these are the participants in Housing First who are motivated within the first few years. But if you look at all participants, by the 10-year mark, the majority of them have experienced homelessness again.
Really?
Yes. Because you can't solve homelessness without a lot more homes. And there's no Housing First program that has vastly increased the total stock of housing. The average cost of housing is not going down. And these people's incomes are not going up.
Yeah.
And all the challenges, associated with that, they can get help for them. But if they can't afford housing, they can't afford housing. And again, there's just not only is public housing more expensive to build than market rate housing, but it's all more expensive, again, due to regulations. And permanent supportive housing is even more expensive than plain public housing. So Housing First can actually have cause a net reduction in the number of units that a city builds because every unit is more expensive because of the supportive part. So it's not a solution, at least as implemented. Like it can't solve the problem. It's not possible.
Right. I was going to mention, have you read up on they're using machine learning to help prevent people before they become homeless?
So that's a really good idea because homelessness is very expensive for cities. It is far more expensive for a city to deal with homelessness after it happens than to prevent homelessness. When someone becomes homeless, again, it's really hard on their brains and bodies. It often involves them losing their jobs. It strains their ties with their community because often they'll try to live with other people before they are just homeless. And so that causes interpersonal turmoil and, just having an eviction on your record, for example, is ruins your credit. And then you're having to have a harder time finding housing going forward. And, a lot of people will owe money to these landlords. It's an expensive thing to go through and traumatic. And so you want to avoid it if possible, but it's just really hard to know. If you've got 100 people who don't have enough money in the bank to meet all their obligations in a given month, which one of them or which 5, let's say, are going to end up on the streets? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Most of them are going to figure it out somehow, at least this month. But then next month, who's going to end up on the streets? And so any kind of ways that we can prevent homelessness by intervening, would be I think really, really have a really high ROI. And that's something that really bothers me about a lot of policy is that, and I get the impulse, don't spend tax dollars, keep government small, whatever. But it's some interventions save money on net. And so why not spend money in the short term to prevent larger expenditures over the long term? Especially when those expenditures come with incalculable misery and hardship. And so, yeah, I think preventing homelessness is a great way to spend money.